The Toronto Blue Jays went to Seattle down 2-0. They're still in Seattle, and we have a tied ALCS. I'm Dan with Kyle and Bobby Valentine as the Toronto Blue Jays win game number 4. And Bobby, when you look at that game, I can't help if you're just a fan of baseball and you see how the Jays won that game, everything was almost executed to perfection.
Yeah, there's a lot of execution. There was a lot of really good plays. Of course, Jimenez again getting the big home run. But what you looked at initially and you got to enjoy and understand was a competitor, a great competitor out in the middle of that diamond Max Scherzer, who was going to do whatever it took. You heard it here first last night. There was no reason for him to be good. There was no reason for him to go 5 2/3 into this game, other than his heart and his mind. He was out there to compete and to win. He was throwing slow curveballs, take all the analytics, throw them out the window, 42% fastballs, cutters, hard stuff, inside, outside. No, he was going to throw what it took to get that guy out at that particular time. It was the thing of beauty.
Bobby, just from a theater of sports perspective, it was something else to watch him turn that back. And what I believe they said was his 500th major league start. That's very impressive. You know, you saw the intensity when when Schneider first came out to the mound to talk to him, and I think Max scolded him. I'm not entirely certain what happened there, but Schneider did later say in the dugout, "That's the guy I've been waiting for all year long," and he turned back the clock in a way and in the time that the Jays needed him most.
And as we talked about last night, when it came time to take him out of the game, John was signaling when he left the dugout. He wasn't going to go out to the mound and have a conversation about staying in or going out. He was bringing the reliever in before he got out to the mound.
Max Scherzer said he went to the Toronto Blue Jays because he wanted to win a world championship. Uh, I'm pretty sure when any player's gone to a team, that is the standard line you give. But for the Jays getting Max Scherzer, all of it was worth it. The money they paid for this one start and this one performance.
Indeed. And as you're a player, you're going out there, you're going playing in a playoff. Oh, I'll play in the playoffs again next year. Oh, I'll get to the World Series again. Oh, I'll win my World Series share. But when you're at the end and you know what it is not to get to that final game and you want it badly, you'll do whatever it takes. And that's what you saw out there tonight. It was a thing of beauty.
Bobby, for the second straight night, the entire starting lineup of the Toronto Blue Jays reached base or better. There was extra base hits that were lacking in the first couple of games. It was a totally dominant performance by this offense once again, 1 through 9. How does a team like Seattle even try to combat an offense that's rolling right through the order the way the Blue Jays are right now?
Well, you obviously need really good pitching to stop the Blue Jays. They have talented hitters throughout their lineup. And if you don't have good stuff when you go out there, like they had the first two games of the series in Toronto, you're going to get hit around. And Miller tomorrow is going to be challenged. The second time that they're going to see him in the series, he doesn't have the kind of stuff that can dominate a hitter. So his adjustments are going to have to be finely tuned in order to stay in that game past the fifth inning. And if he doesn't, it's Katie Bardador, and it's going to be 3-2 Blue Jays on your way back to Canada.
You've watched a lot of baseball. You've seen a lot of baseball. What the hell has happened in this series? Is it as simple as the Jays pitchers were bad in Toronto and the Mariners pitchers were bad in Seattle? It can't be that simple.
I think it is often that simple. Yeah. When you're throwing pitches down the middle and when the offense gets a little momentum, gets a little feel. And again, such the weight that the middle of the lineup always has in these big games. Their shoulders, their back get tired of trying to carry the team. And when you get the input early in the game from the bottom of the lineup, that takes all the heat. That takes all the weight. That takes all the pressure off of the rest of those guys. And then they just can perform. And their performance is usually pretty good.
We can talk, and we have talked about the role Schneider plays in all of this as the manager of this team, keeping them calm, even between losses and between wins. It's a very important part of his role. Talk a little bit about the job he did with this team up to this point in the playoffs, because it's been a kind of a masterclass on game management and personnel management.
Yeah, and he's learning as he goes, which is really a fun thing to watch too, and to see how he's making the adjustments. You get to 0-2 and you reach down into your bag of tricks and you figure out, hey, how do I get these guys back on track? And then they get back on track and they score a lot of runs for 2 games, and now you're even and you have another game before you get to go home. And that's a place he's never been before, so he's going to try to figure out what that little right formula is for tomorrow. Is it a real light attitude? Is it a louder attitude? All that manager does during this time of the season is he tries to control the volume. Sometimes you have to turn the volume up a little, sometimes you have to turn it down a little, and he has to read that room and figure out what the volume level needs to be for the intensity that is needed going into a game 3 after you just dominated the team in their home ballpark for 2 games.
You can make any stat ultra specific, and I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've ever seen a second baseman hit back to back 2-run homers in back to back games in the ALCS. It's got to be.
Yeah, and see a second baseman who doesn't hit home runs. It's not
Yes.
like Jeff Kent or Roberto Alomar. This is a guy who's there, a very good defensive player, could run, can get a hit for you, baseball IQ up there at a higher level. But you know, you look at a guy's stats, and sometimes you think that the stats are who he is. Oh, he's a 230 hitter. That means he's going to hit 230 in this series. Not necessarily. No, if he's a 230 hitter, sometimes he might hit 330. Sometimes he might hit 130 to be that 230 hitter. And if you catch him when he's hitting on that hot streak, he can do pretty good things. And Jimenez did some pretty spectacular things in the last 2 games.
How big of a mistake was it for Josh Naylor to get thrown out at third base there and kill their momentum in what was shaping up to be a good inning for Seattle? Because, to challenge the arm of Barger out there, who's been clocked throwing 100 miles an hour from the outfield as a replacement for Santander, who could absolutely not have made that play, was a huge mistake on his part.
Well, Naylor is the guy who brings that competitiveness to a team that really didn't have a fiery a guy on their team. Had a couple of hits against Scherzer, hit the home run. Was the guy who wasn't going to back down from the competition. And there he got overzealous in his competitive spirits, not preparing before it happened. I think he was probably just reacting and going to third base because he wanted to show his aggressiveness instead of before the play started. Oh, don't make the third out at third base, stupid, because we're behind in this game. And if you say that to yourself before it happens, you'll stop at second base.
Bobby, guess what? You're in luck. You've got a poor connection, so you get an early night. But don't worry, we'll talk to you after game number 5 tomorrow.
Gee, sorry about that.
Hey, no
It's okay.
problem at all. We get to see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Bobby. We see you tomorrow.
And tomorrow, remind me, because I want to ask Bobby. He brought up Jeff Kent,
Oh.
and I've never been able to ask someone who managed or played against Jeff Kent if he really was an ass, because that was the rumor about Jeff Kent always. He was not a nice guy. And I don't want the guy to carry that label if it's not true. So remind me to ask that of Bobby Valentine.
I will, Dan. I mean, after that time he got in the dugout fight with Barry Bonds, who was always known as a bundle of joy.
Yeah, I think
But
he was probably just an intense. He'll probably describe him as
sure.
he was just an intense and he was a gamer.
That would be the politically correct way of stating it. Dan, like we got to talk a little bit more about tonight's game
Oh my
because
god, I could talk about that game. Like, I was just amazed how John Schneider has always been criticized for his managerial skills, how he
yeah,
mismanages a game. So far, if you look back to that bullpen game against the Yankees, you look at every game that has transpired in the postseason, maybe a few early hooks on starters, but so far he has been almost picture perfect.
he just even the like look at the lineup changes that he made tonight from shifting people around. IKF comes in, had a big game, which come on, neither of us expected that.
No.
Barger not only had a big hit, but look at that gun from the outfield. He absolutely put their rally on ice. That was one of the biggest plays of the game. I feel that, to stop a Seattle team dead in its tracks, a team that can be streaky at the plate, just like the Jays,
And then
just
he brings
moving.
in Miles Straw to replace Barger on the base pass, and he ends up scoring on a ball that barely left the infield.
It's he just can't do wrong right now. But it's, you hear all the cliche talk about he trusts his guys, he trusts his guys. Well, look what happened. There was a lot of questions whether going to Scherzer tonight was the right move. It was the expert move. He knows who that guy is. Deals with him more than we do. Like, we don't talk to Max Scherzer on a daily basis. We talk to Keegan quite frequently, who talks about his intensity, and he brought that intensity tonight, and he brought the 19 years of experience. The guy's been to a World Series. He's done everything you can do on that mound, and he did it one more time tonight. It was incredible theater.
So we have a rematch of our game one starters, Bryce Miller, who went 6 innings. He only gave up one earned run. And Kevin Gausman, who was great, he gave up two earned. That was the game in which many criticized Schneider for an early hook in that game. But again, the Jays only scored one run, so it didn't really factor in. So that will be watched tomorrow. We might have a low scoring affair. That was the lowest scoring game of the series so far. Game one was won by the Mariners 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, this Jays offense tends to kind of go in bunches, don't they? They really do fire off two or three of these games in a row. Hopefully, they have another one in the bag tomorrow night, but they may not need 8 runs or 12 runs tomorrow night if Gossman is once again on his stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it. There's a little bit, it's an afternoon start there, 3 p.m. in Seattle, 6:08 Eastern time is first pitch tomorrow. So we'll be on here a little bit earlier, of course. I wouldn't be surprised if their offense kept rolling, but more to the tune of, say, 5 runs or 4 runs. But, another special defensive performance followed by a quality start by Gossman. A pitcher's duel could very much be on the menu tomorrow night. To whatever degree this series could feature one of those.
One thing is certain, it's another biggest game of the season for the Toronto Blue
Yeah.
Jays. They have played back to back biggest game of their seasons, and they won both of them. This is still a crucial one. You lose this, you're down 3-2. The one thing they did solidify is that the series does go back to Toronto. So, fans that have tickets to Sunday's game, um, you will be using those tickets for an 8 o'clock start on Sunday. Um, we haven't even talked about Vlady Guerrero. Vlady silent the first 2 games. His silence is now very loud. There's no longer silence. He is having a postseason for the ages.
He really is, Dan. And it's so exciting to see because let's be perfectly honest, he had a below his own standard regular season. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't great. He is now sinking himself into the upper echelons of all-time Blue Jays playoff performances and all-time major league performances if he continues at this clip. Not only that, he's a clubhouse guy. You remember the way his teammates always speak about him. You remember the headfirst dive into home plate and Yankee Stadium, the way he tries, the defensive plays that he's been making. His part on that pickoff tonight. How rare are pickoffs? Did we get those pickoff stats from
Yeah.
producer Tim?
I
It
couldn't
was
believe it. We asked producer Tim how many pickoffs there were this year in the majors because I was trying to explain to my girls. I'm like, that just never happens.
never,
The fact that
never.
they did that. And also Vladdy pointing out to Max Scherzer. And I was watching the broadcast. I'm like, I said to everyone in the room, like, everyone can see what pitch he's throwing. And Vladdy's like, hey, Max, everyone can see your grip on the baseball, which is
It's
kind
true.
of baffling considering that that was Scherzer's 500th game, but
You
maybe he was so dialed in, he had just lost track of his, glove placement, which is, again, baffling for a guy that's played that much baseball.
when Schneider came out to the mound to talk to Max the first time, and Max looked like he was going to murder him, or whatever was said out there too. Vladdy was also on the mound,
Yeah.
and the camera cuts away. Just you could see a grin start creeping across his face because he was amused by whatever he heard there. But like that is the Scherzer we've been told about by an insider like Keegan all season long. He's an intense guy, but he brought that for the team tonight, and a team that does have a lot of fun together to ratchet up the intensity this way. Maybe that's why they're getting these 1 to 9 performances in the batting order. It's really, really special to see this offense when it's clicking like this.
Different person steps up every night. On this night, every single J stepped up as they tie the series with the Mariners. In the NL, Dodgers are on the verge of a sweep against the Brewers, are up 3 games to none. They could wrap that series up tomorrow night, but it's the Mariners and Jays, 6 Eastern start on Friday. We will be here with Bobby, myself, and Kyle post game. So we'll see you then.